Do you have more peppers than you know what to do with? If you have jalapenos and you have sweet peppers, then this video is for you. Today we are making candied jalapenos, or better known as Cowboy Candy. We are also going to be pickling peppers in a different way than we did in our previous video, and so stick around for a whole new method that we hope works for food and pepper preservation going forward. Hello friends, welcome back to Simply a Breeze. My name is Bree if you are new here. And today we are doing something that I have been putting off for far too long. As you can see right here, we have a ton of peppers that have been sitting in my fridge probably for too long that we need to go ahead and get processed. So all I have right here, aside from these, okay, so don't look at these yet, all of these peppers right here are a sweet pepper. So they're shishito peppers, they're pepperoncinis, and they are banana peppers. I am just gonna do a quick pickle on those for now. They will last in the fridge for quite some time, so I'm not super worried about that. Reed and I will go through them. We like putting them on tacos and stuff like that. These right here are my cayennes. I am going to leave them out for the moment because I'm not sure if I want to add maybe like one to this next recipe, which I'm super excited for. I have never made this recipe, however, I have had this recipe, and that is candied jalapenos, or more commonly known as Cowboy Candy. I have a humble harvest of jalapenos, I would say. For me, this harvest is pretty good. And then right here, we've got some Sugar Rush peach peppers. I'm thinking of adding those to the Cowboy Candy too. I think those would add a good dynamic. But I have a bunch of little, what's called tam jalapenos right here. That means that this pepper should technically not be super hot. Whether or not it is a different story, and we'll probably give it a little bit of like a taste test before we make that decision. So I'm gonna fold this up. I did rinse everything off before we started because I need a cutting board and we need a knife. So now let me show you what's going on over here, because we're gonna have, we need to get some things going while we are prepping the jalapenos and any other hot peppers or regular peppers that we wanna throw into the Cowboy Candy first. So right here's our Dutch oven. This is what we're gonna use to make the brine for the Cowboy Candy. Right here is my water bath canner because, let me double check. Yep, this is a water bath canning recipe. So we will be water bathing the Cowboy Candy once it is put in the jars. Our jars just went through the dishwasher, so they are nice and hot, which means they will be hot jars when we fill them, because we're also going to be putting hot brine into the jars, so we want our pot to be hot. So I actually have this filled currently about halfway with water, and I have that back burner on, so this can start heating up, because this is gonna take a while. This much water takes quite a while to heat. And then we'll go ahead and start heating up the Dutch oven and the brine here in a minute once we find out how many jalapenos and peppers we do truly have. So I have our scale right here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn it off for the time being. I've got my compost bin over here in the sink. We're gonna go ahead and just throw the tops of the jalapenos in. And what I'm actually going to do is, the original recipe says to go ahead and cut these into thin slices. However, the person who wrote, or who kind of made this recipe, or made it her own, I should say, decided to go ahead and try chopping her jalapenos to make it a little bit more pleasant every time you took a bite. And I think that that is also what I'm going to do. So instead of thinly slicing, we're going to go ahead and chop these into chunks. But for now, as long as I take the tops off, I can get an accurate weight. I'm just like missing the compost bin over here. I probably only have like a pound of jalapenos, which is isn't bad. I should probably go check the garden and see if we have any more jalapenos on the vine. All right, so let's go ahead and turn our scale on. Let's see how many jalapenos we have. Oops, I'll rinse that jalapeno back off. Okay, we don't even have a full pound of jalapenos. Let me go see if there's any in the garden and I will be back. So we're at 10 ounces, exactly. Well, there was only one jalapeno left, and that's fine. We will make do. So I am gonna go ahead, let's see, do I grab a tiny cayenne pepper? There we go, we could do this tiny little cayenne pepper here. I want this to have a little bit of heat. Oops, let me tear you again. Okay. Let's add a nice size Sugar Rush peach pepper here. And then we're gonna go ahead and add some color. You can mix peppers. This doesn't have to specifically be for jalapenos only, though that is typical. So I'm gonna do a mixture of bells. I'm gonna do a mixture of sweet peppers and hot peppers is kind of my goal here. Which is why I need to make sure I'm measuring this out well. And all of these peppers are homegrown, which is pretty exciting. Okay, let's put this on there. Let's rebalance this out. All right, so we're at 1 pound and 14 ounces. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add another little cayenne pepper there, and then we'll just finish up the bell peppers, I think, is what we're gonna have to do. Let's do these funky ones. Oh, I think that's a Marconi pepper. Not all of the bell peppers I can chop the top off like this, but if I can, I will. It makes it a little bit easier. Not that one. Let's see, we're close. Let's add one more Sugar Rush peach pepper, that'll be fun. Yep, we're gonna use up all of these bells, which is great. Perfect. And now these cayennes, I am just gonna cut the tops off. And I am going to pop these in the freezer, and I'm actually gonna freeze dry the cayenne peppers so I can have my own homegrown cayenne powder. I'm gonna do the same thing for the Sugar Rush peach peppers. I'm gonna freeze these, but these are gonna be turned into a peach salsa here in the future. All right, so while we go ahead and chop up the peppers, we're just gonna kind of get them into like a good chop. We are going to heat up 2 cups of apple cider vinegar and 4 cups of sugar in the Dutch oven. I'm just going to use a 1/2 cup measure here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Well, one of those peppers has some heat to it. I touched my face and I can feel the burn. So hopefully we get some good burn, or we get some good heat with this recipe. All right, so that finished off one jar. Let's open up this one. And I need 2 cups of this, and again, this is a 1/2 cup measure. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and all it says is to add the sugar and the apple cider vinegar, cook over medium heat until it comes to a boil. So that's about medium. We are going to turn down the water bath canner. It's starting to steam over here, and so we don't need to come to a boil yet, but we do want the water hot. So we're just going to turn that down. And now let's get to chopping our peppers. So Cowboy Candy. To clarify, it is a candied jalapeno. The brine is sweet, the peppers have a nice heat to them, and it is an incredibly versatile condiment is the best way to put it. Typically, the way that I have eaten Cowboy Candy is as an appetizer, and you pour it over a block of softened cream cheese, and you go ahead and you eat it with some crackers, and it is a beautiful combination of cheese, the saltiness from the cream cheese a little bit, and then the sweet and the heat. It's perfect. It's a beautiful pairing. So that is only just one way you can use Cowboy Candy. The other way to use Cowboy Candy is you can use it to top burgers. You can use it on tacos. Some people like it on sandwiches, but you can also put it on a charcuterie board with a similar concept to like the cream cheese and crackers. You can do something very similar, and it's really great for sharing and parties. With that, I've never actually grown enough jalapenos to be able to make Cowboy Candy myself. I could go buy jalapenos from local farmers or from farmers markets. Honestly, we've just been so busy this summer. I have yet to make it to a local farmers market, and that's just so sad. However, homegrown jalapenos tend to be a little hotter for me, even though I am using a variety that is not particularly hot. So I decided to go ahead and mix it with the other peppers that I grew. Some people call it cowgirl candy because then it's not as hot, or you can make it with just sweet peppers, but I really liked the idea of making it with a combination. I have yet to try this batch and see how well it turned out, but I feel very confident that it turned out absolutely amazing, and I will update you once I give it a shot. I attribute this year's abundant, I'm going to put that in air quotes, jalapeno harvest to the fact that I decided to grow my peppers in a different way this year. I decided to grow them in a grain stock, which is a vertical growing tower. It has 5 tiers, the original grain stock has 5 tiers with 6 individual sections that you can plant in, and my peppers have done some of the best they've ever done. My pepper harvest is the best it's ever been since I started growing my own peppers in our garden. So if you're looking to grow peppers and you live in a suburban neighborhood or even the urban jungle and you just have a little bit of space, I highly recommend looking into growing vertically. I am not sponsored or promoted or affiliated with Greenstock, but I do really like their product, and this is the most success I've had growing anything in the Greenstock as well this year. So if you want to give it a try and you grow in small spaces like I do, I highly recommend. All right, it took quite a bit of time to get the peppers chopped, so I did have to turn down this mixture. So it is now back up to a boil, and now we just add all of our chopped peppers into this bowl. I'm going to try to do it without making huge splashes. I don't want this splashing up at me. Okay, we're good. Now we can grab a spoon. We can mix this all together. And now we need this to get back up to a boil, and while we're waiting on this to boil, we'll get our jars prepped. If you can hear it in the background, I did turn on my tea kettle. We're getting some hot water going because our lids are gonna have to sit in some hot water right before we put them on our jars. And our water for the water bath canner is very hot. I don't actually know how many jars this makes. That is the one thing. The recipe doesn't say how many jars this recipe calls for, but we are going to be using half-pint jars today. These are still warm. So 6, 7, 8. Let's go with 9 and see what that does. We've got our funnel here. This does need to come back up to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, it'll cook for 5 minutes. So looks like it's close to getting back up to a boil. So while we are waiting on this to go ahead and reach a boil, we are gonna prep all of the other peppers. We're just gonna cut them up and we're gonna cut them into rings so we can get those quick pickling. We are just gonna use the same bowl to put our peppers in while we wait. While I get these nice and chopped. And all I'm doing is chopping off the tops. And then I'm just gonna cut these into rings. So they're ready to go on top of pizza. So they're ready to go on top of tacos. Or anything else we so desire. And these are all a sweet pepper. So my goal always with pickling peppers is I am trying to achieve the wonderful vinegary flavor. I really enjoy the pepperoncinis that come on the Olive Garden salads, and that is what I'm trying to achieve, is a pickle for my peppers that's really, really close. And so I'm hoping that maybe this recipe that I'm about to show you is the one. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the jars with the peppers first, and then I will top it off with the juice. And we fill this to 1/2 inch of headspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just can the broth, or not the broth, oh my goodness, the brine. And we can use the brine in cooking. So whenever I'm cooking up a recipe and I want something a little spicy, that's what we're going to use this brine for. Let's grab our debubble tool. We're going to go ahead and debubble. And then we'll go ahead and measure. I think I overfilled some of these, which is fine. We can fix that. of an inch, half an inch, half an inch, half an inch. That's done. Next thing we need to do is we need to wipe down the rims of our jars. Hot. Yeah, these jars are toasty already. So let me go ahead and get just the liquid that's resting on here off, and then we'll go through with vinegar. Let's add vinegar. Now, I did get one of those handy dandy magnet tools to help get the lids out of the hot water. So we're just gonna use the magnet tool and it'll pick up one at a time. Ooh, I like this. Why did it take me so long to get one of these? Because I'm frugal. And it seemed unnecessary, but wow. This is making life so easy right now. We're gonna put the lids on, or the rings on, fingertip tight. So we need to get the Dutch oven out of the way and cooling. We can get all of this stuff out of the way now. This out of the way. And we're gonna move the water bath canner to this burner. This burner is bigger and it burns hotter, so I prefer it for actually canning. I just needed this burner to keep the pot hot. So we're gonna move her on over. These jars, because they are hot, I am just gonna use the tongs to get them into the water bath canner, so I don't drop them, so I don't risk burning myself, for all the reasons. I have some hot water left in the kettle. We're just gonna add it to this so we can get the water to an inch above the lids. Which is great. We'll put the lid on, and now what we do is we need this to come to a rolling boil. Once this comes to a rolling boil, the processing time on this is, I believe, 15 minutes, but because of my altitude, I need to add another 10. Double check. Okay, so water bath and boil for 10 minutes. But because I live at elevation, so boiling water canner, I live at about 4,000 feet, so I need to increase processing time by 10 minutes. So this is gonna go for 20. I will show you how the canner looks when the water comes to a boil. For now, we are gonna finish chopping up these peppers. I'm going to clean the kitchen and then we'll get those pickling. But I figured I started these peppers, I should probably just go ahead and finish them. We're gonna be deviating a little bit. So I have all of these peppers chopped on up, and I decided I would really like these to be canned. We only have so much fridge space, and I would like these to not take up a whole lot of space in our fridge. Granted, it's still not a lot, but we also don't need like a half-quart jar just sitting in there. Or it's not half-quart, it's like a 1.5 pint jar. Anyways, I found a recipe for canning. We're gonna give it a shot. I forgot to put salt in those. That's gonna be fun. It'll be fine. So we are gonna make a brine for these pickled regular peppers, and that's gonna be 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of water, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Hopefully these aren't super sweet. I don't like sweet pickled things. That's a preference of mine. we're gonna give this recipe a shot and we'll see if I like it. We need to measure out the apple cider vinegar. We need 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. We cleaned our Dutch oven out. This is a 1/2 cup measure. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wow. Good thing I still have another one of these in the basement. So we need 1 teaspoon of sugar. This is my 1/2 teaspoon measure. We need 2 teaspoons of salt. We need 1 cup of water. We are going to get this heating up and up to a boil. Maybe if I can get it to light. There we go. Okay, we're going to get that going. Water bath can. This is also a water bath canning recipe. I didn't make that very clear. But I figured I've got the water bath canner going. The water in here is already going to be hot, so that's perfect. I will need to top it off, but this is still going to work great. So now we need to bring the vinegar, the water, the salt, and the sugar to a boil, and then we're going to pour it over our peppers in the jars. So now let's go ahead and fill our jars with peppers. We just need this brine to get up to a boil, but for now, we're just going to stuff our jars. I don't know. Let's try this guy first. I'm using smaller jars because we're not always going to want a big jar of pickled peppers. And then I was gifted these jars. They are smaller than a 1/2 pint jar, which is a little weird to me, but they will still work. Another thing you need to know when it comes to canning like this is all canning recipes are only for pints and larger. Technically 1/2 pints, they haven't actually tested it, the governing body, it's the National Center for Food Preservation or something. They don't test 1/2 pints, so it's always, they say if you're going to use 1/2 pints, just process it for the same amount of time you would a regular pint. So just so you know, processing time does not go down simply because we're using smaller jars once you get smaller than a pint. There we go. So, one. This brine is up to a boil. Just want to make sure the salt is nice and dissolved. Woohoo! So the water bath canner timer just went off. We're going to remove the lid and we're going to let these sit for a few minutes before we take them out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the rack, let them sit again for a few more minutes, and then we'll take them out. I don't want to shock the jars removing them from the heat. So while we're doing that, we are going to get the brine ladled into our jars over here for the pickled peppers. Hoping we have enough brine. We may need to make more brine. Okay. Yeah, I think we're totally going to have to make more brine. So while we are waiting on that brine to come up to a boil, we can go ahead and lift our jars up. Oops. Let me see if I can fix this jar that just fell over. Oh goodness. Come on. Okay. Let's pop this back down. Let's see if we can. Oh, okay. Well, that is 100% not what we want to do at all. That one needed to come out because clearly that one just, didn't want to stand up. It fell over. Okay. Now we can take these and lift them and let them rest. We're trying to shock as little jars as possible here. We'll let these sit for a few more minutes and then we will also take these out as well. Let's go ahead and remove the rest of remove the rest of these jars. Just a little bit. So some of the water in here did boil off, so what I'm doing is I'm getting some more water to fill the canner with. That way when I go to put these other jars in there, it's already at enough headspace and we're ready, or not enough headspace, wow. There's enough water on top of the jars to water bath can. We are done with these. Hopefully for the rest of the day, I'm ready to put my feet up. Go ahead and lower this down. Oop. This jar wants to lean. We're going to try and keep it from leaning. And we're going to try and keep from having another fallen over jar. Okay, so the lid's on. We've got the canner heating back up. We filled to 1 inch headspace, or half an inch headspace. And we're going to process for 20 minutes as well. This says 10 minutes and it's 15 if you're above 1,000 to 6,000 feet. However, both of the 2 canning books I have that break it down, your elevation matters, like there's increments. And so I'm gonna just do 20 to be on the safe side once this comes to a rolling boil. All right, friends, so this is a really good time for me to be processing the pickled peppers because I am hungry. I need to eat some more. Baby update, I am 18 weeks pregnant, which is exciting. I can't believe we are actually just about halfway there, which is wild to me. But I need to eat more frequently because of that, so this is a really good stopping point. for me to eat anyways. This is still gonna go on, and then once I'm done eating, I'll clean up the kitchen and I'll show you what this all looks like once we take everything out of the canner. But for now, the girl needs food. Well, friends, that's it. We got our pepper harvest preserved. Most of it is now shelf stable. We do still have some of our pepper harvest in the fridge, and it feels really good to have this all out of the fridge. I'm excited for the Cowboy Candy. I'm excited for these pickled peppers, and I like that I made them in smaller jars because we don't need a whole lot at a time. But if you enjoyed this, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment. I would love to know what you do for your peppers. I'm always looking out for new recipes, and I'm not certain that this pepper recipe is one that I'm going to love. I will let you know when the time comes after we've given it a shot if I loved it or not. But right now, all bets are off. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.